ready?
We got another 60 seconds. We will end early anyway, so.
All right. Oh, there's so many lighters. Good morning. Hello. My name is Ben McAdams. I am the controller here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. I welcome everyone to our service this morning and welcome visitors to our open and inclusive community of faith. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning. We support one another as we explore these paths. I would like to especially welcome our guests and welcome those who have visited us before. Visitors, it is our custom of our congregation to invite you to stand and give your name and where you are from, if you feel comfortable doing so. Are there any visitors here today who would like to introduce themselves? Yes.
Yeah, I'm Christopher Aurora. I've been here before, but I'm still the visitor status.
Gotcha. All right. Welcome. Thank you.
I'm Tanya.
Tanya. All right. Thank you, Tanya. Anybody else? All right. For any visitors, welcome you to also, after this service, come down to our coffee hour and then get to know and speak more with members of our congregation. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary. Should anyone feel the need to leave the service for any reason, there are chairs provided there for your convenience. And as we begin the service, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
As we light our chalice, let us reflect on the third principle. We believe that we should accept one another and keep learning together.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Tom Capo, the minister here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church, and I want to welcome you all and our viewers on YouTube as well. Sanctuary can mean a lot of things, but right now I'm holding in my heart this meaning. Sanctuary is a spiritual place where we can share love and gratitude. Reverend Janine Harrison Nijar wrote, "We need sanctuaries, places of shelters for our dreams, hopes, prayers, longings, griefs, and joyful imaginings, so that they can be held in safe and gentle holiness. We need places of order and meaning, places to cry, places to open our heart, and to be touched and to touch one another."
It is time to gather for a story. Now, today's story will frame what the children and youth will be talking about in their classrooms. And in the spirit of whole church ministry, I want you to be aware of the religious education lesson. But the story will not add to the rest of today's service that Reverend Tom will be preaching. So I would like for all the young and young at heart to remain in their seats with the people that they came to church with today. After our time together, we'll sing a song, and the teachers will lead the children and the youth to their classes. So you may have heard of something called the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to tell you a bunch of things that you probably already know about the Statue of Liberty. Like, did you know that the Statue of Liberty comes from France? One day, a Frenchman named Edward de Laboulaye had an idea. The idea was to celebrate 100 years the United States of America had been around by giving them a giant sculpture. So he convinced another Frenchman, a Frenchman with an Italian last name, to design the sculpture. And that artist's name was Frederick Auguste Bartholdi. Bartholdi designed the statue, which stands 305 feet above the water. It was covered with a thin copper skin. The skin was about as thick as 2 pennies, and that's not very thick. Notice that the hand is bigger than these men. Thus, they made the statue in many parts. Did you know that before the Statue of Liberty was assembled in New York, she was first constructed in Paris? And the Statue of Liberty stood there high above Paris for almost a year in 1884. In 1885, after they took it apart, they put the parts in 214 crates and put these crates on a boat named the Isère. Assembling the statue took 17 months, and it all happened on what was then called Bedloe's Island. Now, you may have noticed that in the pictures, the Statue of Liberty in the story have her colored brown. Well, the Statue of Liberty was made of copper, and copper starts out brown. Then very slowly, when left outside for long periods of time, copper will eventually oxidize, and when it does, it turns this blue-green color. So the Statue of Liberty that everyone in New York saw being constructed was actually brown. The Statue of Liberty, in fact, was brown for about 35 years. And the statue turned green around 1920 and has been the same color ever since. But perhaps you already knew this. And yet, you may have known that the book the statue is carrying in her left hand features the date July 4th, 1776, on which the Declaration of Independence was signed. And you may know that the 7 spikes in her crown represent the 7 seas of the earth and the 7 continents, and the sun's rays, too. And you probably know that the torch she carries is a symbol of enlightenment, lighting the path to liberty and freedom. But there is one thing that you might not know, and this is the central point of this story. The point is that even if you've seen a picture of the Statue of Liberty, or many pictures of the Statue of Liberty, or even hundreds of pictures of the Statue of Liberty, you probably have not seen pictures of her feet. And even if you've seen pictures of her feet, you probably have not seen pictures of the back of her feet, in particular, her right foot. So what do you notice when you see this picture? You can see her back heel, yes. She's going somewhere. She is on the move. Let's pause here and collect ourselves and think about this. Let's discuss this. Let's think about and discuss the fact that this is the largest sculpture in all the land and the most iconic symbol of the United States of America. Let's talk about the fact that this statue has welcomed millions of visitors and immigrants to the USA. People talk about her unusual headwear. They talk about her gown, which seems very heavy and would probably result in some serious lower back issues. They talk about her beautiful torch and the severe look on her face. But no one talks about the fact that she is walking. This 150-foot woman is on the go. Every time we see the Statue of Liberty in pictures, or any time we imagine the Statue of Liberty, we see her standing still, very still, like a statue. But she is moving. She weighs 450,000 pounds and wears a size 879 shoe. And she is moving. How can we have all missed this? Or even if we saw this and noticed this, how is it that we have seen and noticed a 450,000-pound human on her way somewhere and said, it's just another 150-foot tall woman walking off a 150-foot tall pedestal? And most important, where is she going? Is she going to Soho to get a panini? Is she going to the West Village to look for vintage records? No. But she's going somewhere. But where? Why is she moving? There are certain things that we know. We know that around her feet are chains. And they are broken chains, implying that she has freed herself from bondage. We know that Bartholdi wanted us to know this. He wanted us to see the chains. People have talked about the chains, but few talk about the foot that is so obviously in mid-stride, about the fact that her entire right leg is in mid-stride. What does this mean? What does this mean that we often forget about this right foot, this right leg? So here's an idea, a theory, a reminder. If the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom, if the Statue of Liberty has welcomed millions of immigrants to the United States, then how can she stand still? Liberty and freedom from oppression are not things you get or grant by standing around like some kind of statue. No, these are things that require action, courage, an unwillingness to rest. The Statue of Liberty was not built to welcome just 1,886 immigrants from Italy on some certain Sunday. She was built to welcome 3,000 immigrants from Poland the next day, and the next day, 5,000 Norwegians. After that, 10,000 Glaswegians, then Cambodians, then Estonians, Somalis, Nepalis, Syrians, Liberians. It never ends. It cannot end. After all, the Statue of Liberty is an immigrant too. And this is why she is moving. This is why she's striding. In welcoming the poor, the tired, the struggling to breathe free, she is not content to wait, and she must meet them in the sea. Let's sing. Rise and body or spirit. Becky is going to lead us in a chant. She'll sing it through first, and then we will join her.
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Let us have a moment of silence as we hold in our hearts this morning the victims of the shooting in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. Amen, and blessed be. Now is the time in our service that we set aside for sharing joys and concerns. We recognize that, in addition to the joys and concerns that we are experiencing in our lives beyond our church community, many of us are also bringing with us today our reactions to the transition of ministry at our church. In recognition of our collective need to honor our feelings and our need to support one another as we move forward, we will use a different ritual for joys and concerns today. We will return to our traditional joys and concerns format on November 11th. To begin the Joys and Concerns ritual today, Becky and I will sing a short meditative piece to set our communal intention for love and healing. During the song, please focus on the people in your life and in our church family who are in need of our support or who are experiencing a joy in their lives. When the song is finished, you are invited to speak into the silence the names of those people you are grateful for, people you are concerned for, people whose hands you hold on life's journey. As we speak their names, may the space of this sanctuary be filled with our love and compassion for our neighbors, friends, families, and the strangers we do not know. After the speaking has come to a natural end, Becky and I will sing again, and then Reverend Tom will close this time of reverence and healing. Hold this family in your heart, watch over all their loved ones, help the children make their way, and hold them in the arms of love. Church family. Our board, the Jewish community. Hold this family in your heart, watch over all their loved ones, help the children make their way, and hold them in the arms of love.
We have each been blessed in our lives by the gifts of others. We are not alone. And we are part of this beloved community, which is tangible here and now. Feel it. Feel it. It is real. We are real. We are together. What we withhold from this moment, we withhold from ourselves. Only what we give do we ever get to keep. So, dear friends, live into your dreams. Make them real as we are seated here right now. Become your dreams so that each of us is a gift and a giving to ourselves, to this community, and to the world. Amen, and blessed be.
This reading is an excerpt from Theodore Roosevelt's speech at the Sorbonne in Paris, France, on April 23, 1910. It is not the critic who counts, not the person who points out how the strong person stumbles and whether the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if they fail, at least they failed while daring greatly. Brené Brown wrote about this quote. The first time I read this quote, I thought, this is vulnerability. Everything I've learned from over a decade of research on vulnerability has taught me this exact lesson. Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in. Vulnerability is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day is not optional. Our only choice is a question of engagement. Our willingness to own and engage with our vulnerability determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose. The level to which we protect ourselves from being vulnerable is a measure of our fear and disconnection. We must dare to show up and let ourselves be seen. This is vulnerability. This is daring greatly.
I want us to start by affirming that this church is a sanctuary, a place and a state that we create for each other that is safe, respectful, and in the spirit of unity and love. Today I'm going to share my feelings with you in the service, and many of you will be talking with each other and with leadership. So it's important that we affirm this understanding of sanctuary together. As most of you know, my last day as your minister will be December 31st of this year. Many of you, as I come here today with heavy hearts and lots of feelings. What's been on my heart this week is how I've loved my time here and how grateful I am for all the experiences I've had with all of you. I am very sad to be leaving this church in December. Many of you have questions about this decision, how it was made, and the board will be available between services and after the second service to answer your questions. I want to thank all of you who have reached out to Martha and I to offer love and support during this time. Martha really needed it. Her sister also died this week, and so we've had a lot on our plate. So kind words have been very much appreciated. And your reaching out to her has meant a lot to me. And I've received so many hugs. So many hugs. I think my immune system is functioning better. My blood pressure is certainly down. And I hear that my pain tolerance would probably be up too. And so I say to you, thank you. I love you all, and I know that you love me as well. And that this change has not reduced the abundant love in this community. So many memories. I recall the second candidating week service when we all danced to Pharrell Williams' Happy. I think everybody danced that day. And I remember how hard the choir and Art Friedman worked to perform the best All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. It was and Art came in with those horns that just made it perfect. It was like you were in concert or something. I remember putting a blurb in the newsletter asking if anybody was interested in the Social Justice Committee and then scheduling the Clara Barton room for us to have a meeting, thinking a few people would show up. The room was so full that there were people standing around. We must have had 30 more people. I know we had at least 30 people in that room. I was amazed. And then all the meetings that worked with social justice on the Smile Project, and then the celebration this summer when all those youth of color were so happy to have participated in this program. Something I've dreamed of for a long time, that we could really touch the lives of real people. And you invited me to tell stories during the solstice. And I love the brainstorming we've recently done with the Social Sunday Service Committee. That's been fabulous. And the deep discussions in the Jesus Seminar Book Club. That's something I will sorely miss. And of course, I can't forget Martha, my loving wife, walking around in a Tyrannosaurus Rex costume, advertising for the Prairie View Arts Invitational. So many memories. I found Brene Brown's writings very grounding for me during this time. She said, "Our willingness to own and engage with our vulnerability determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose." I realize that the suddenness of this decision has come as a surprise to most of you, and that many of you have very strong feelings. It's normal and natural to have these feelings. It's a time of grief, of movement, of change. It's also normal to have questions. But please, please don't let your feelings result in your feeling you need to blame or accuse anyone. Doing so will only increase the pain in this community. Back in June, we came together at our congregational meeting, and the results of a congregational survey were presented. I shared with you at that time I would be reflecting on my role as your minister. And so over these few months, I've consulted my spiritual director, my coach, my colleagues, so many people, as well as worked with the Committee on Ministry. And the board's work too. Recently, they brought in a consultant from the Unitarian Universalist Association to help them explore these issues as well. I said to you at that congregational meeting in June that I did not want to be a cause of the congregation's anxiety, and I meant that. Please, please trust that the board and I did not come to this decision easily or lightly. This was a mutual decision after much consideration. I know some of you feel blindsided. Some of you might wonder if this is the wrong decision. There is nothing easy or uncomplicated about a decision like this. And there isn't a perfect way to share it either. Well, please know this was not an impulsive decision, and that this decision is not up for negotiation. There is no conspiracy here. There is no bad guy. This was a joint decision between me and the board. I did nothing wrong. I did not breach any ethics. And please, please remember that your board members are both leaders and members of this congregation. They are your friends, members of your covenant groups, people you attend auction parties with. We all need love and compassion right now. I am deeply sorry that this decision has caused such grief. Brene Brown also said, that's what life is about daring greatly, about being in the arena. So my friends, I ask you, get in the arena of what's happening here in your church community. Be willing to be vulnerable with one another. Engage in those conversations that at times may be difficult. Dare greatly to be an amazing congregation. There's a lot to do, and your leadership needs you. I know that there is a lot to process, and so I have asked the church's pastoral ministers and some past and present church leaders to be here for you today, just to talk. And they'll be with you throughout this process, beyond this day, just to listen, to hear your feelings, to help you as you process all of this. But please stay engaged in this community and do the work that's necessary for this congregation to thrive and grow. There will be work ahead, questions to ask, things to do. One of the questions you might need to really think about is, what is it that really holds this community together? Who are you as DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church? Today, one important question I ask you to really hold in your hearts is, how can we express love and compassion to each other through this change? My friends, asking how you can stop this change from happening will only result in more pain for this congregation. Please do not do that. You will move through this. I believe in this community's ability to come together, united, and work for a positive future. Life brings changes. Ministers will come and go. This is your church. These are not alternate facts. This is the reality of being a beloved community. They may be hard to hear right now, but I know you have faced changes. You have come through many together. And you've had many ministers, some for long periods of time and some for short. And I know you can run this church. One of the qualities that brought me here in the first place was that you run the church. Not the minister, not any minister. You don't wait around for a minister to lead you to do things around here. You take the initiative and do what needs to be done. You built this sanctuary not for a minister, but for yourselves, so you'd have space, so you weren't cramped in the learning center with so many new people joining you. You wanted solar panels, so knowing it was the ethically right thing to do, a group of you worked together, researched, planned, and now we have solar panels providing a good portion of our electricity. This is your church, and you are responsible for it. I say that to you as a compliment, because not many church communities can say that. I want to share one more quote with you from Reverend Newjar. In a lecture at General Assembly in 1994, Cornel West, the acclaimed scholar of African American studies, said, "I'm not an optimist. I'm a man of hope." He explained that optimists are those who think things will improve if they simply keep on doing what they're doing. But people of hope see possibilities and commit themselves to actions that will improve things. Affirming hope as a foundational core of our faith, we affirm that we are agents of change and goodness in the world. Hope draws us into action, but action may also draw us to hope. Be a people of hope. Be a people of hope, finding possibilities in these changes, I know you have a lot to face. But commit yourselves to the actions that will improve things for this beloved community. Over the next couple of months, I'll still be here. I'll be working with leadership to help this congregation prepare for the journey ahead. Please stop by my office. We can talk, share some memories, feelings, say our goodbyes. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be your minister for a time.
Today we return to the shelter of each other, to arms that hold us in the midst of the storms, to voices that remind us of our own, to hearts that accept us for who we are. May we be for each other a source of safety and sending. May we offer each other both comfort and challenge. May this place of peace lead us to share peace with others. In this spirit, the offering for the work of this beloved community will be given and gratefully received.
Now it is time for us to extinguish the chalice. Let us carry its flame in our hearts, affirming our connections with one another and the love and gratitude we share. I invite you to rise and body your spirit, and we're going to sing out Love calls us on. We have Kelly and Kat to help us with that this morning. Oh, yeah, the words are in your order of service. And the music. My friends, go forth with the courage to be vulnerable with each other, daring greatly to dream of the future for this beloved community. And know that I will be with you always in spirit and love and gratitude. I invite you now to turn and greet one another and share our love with one another.